Hello guys, welcome to our 30th meetup for the year. I think I'm gonna change the slide a bit. Uh, let me see my face a bit more, and know that so you guys know that I've been okay, got it. So welcome to 30th meetup of the DevOps Malaysia, right? Been a while. I think for the last we had was June 29. Uh, and that was a very good session. We had a very good feedback with Red Hat, right? And from you guys also very supportive. And I hope you all got your grad vouchers. If you I think if you wanna if you missed out, it's too late now. So just so you guys know. Uh, so I think we already give to whoever we need earlier. And I think now we in August. So far I'm just gonna buy sometimes so that more people can join. So I just want to talk a crap a bit since it's been a while, right? And yeah, so I think Martin in the Facebook as well is commented as well. Is joining in the chat comment section. So since 1 month, I think we're very great. And but Malaysia itself, like wow, 1 month, lot of changes. COVID hits high, very high, and the highest ever, right? And also like a lot of things in government side also going on, and hope everything goes turn out well. Just the country back to the right direction and everything. We hope so. COVID wise and everything. But in KL, Klang Valley, at least now I hearing that the ICU thing is like 50% drop and things are much slowly recovering thanks to the vaccination rate. So if you haven't got yourself vaccinated, go please get yourself vaccinated. And for me, I need to find a barber and soon because it's been a long time and guess it's been probably soon. My parents also will recognize me really lah, who I am, like all that things. Okay, I think that's a good 2 minutes. So I'm gonna bring the slide and gonna explain a bit. And then, as usual, for today's session, we're going to have a Apache Kafka DevOps with Kubernetes. That's the title for today's talk. So Gerald and we'll be talking about it later on. This from Confluent. So Confluent is like reach out and to us and want to give a talk and everything. And yeah, I think if you guys out there, any companies or you guys have want a speaker, volunteer, want to join, just feel free to reach out and let us know. We were happy to actually have you and do a session online with you guys. So it's nothing going to be. I mean, we're not going to do a physical meetup, and I don't think so. At least until the end of the year, lah. So that's looking at the things how everything right, let everything stabilize for the better first, and then we start to reach out. I mean, see more stuff can do or not lah. Only thing we are missing is probably the free T-shirt, free gift, and everything. But just hanging there. Uh, and other than that, all good. Speakers, as usual, we're looking for hiring shout out. We actually now we including jobs as well. If you guys are hiring, companies are hiring, reach out to me. I'm going to put in a slide. Just reach out to me one day before the event, so at least I can have time to put in a slide. But yeah, just reach out to me. You can reach out to me through LinkedIn as well. You can just find me with my name, just or to the Facebook group or the Meetup message. You can just Meetup message me. I put it in. So and no worries if you anything. And if you have any feedback also, if you don't like the session, don't like the speaker, or probably looking for something new format or something else or more missing and you want it, let me know as well. I'll be happy to discuss and see how we can help you guys. And if you probably notice, the Form Malaysia logo is there as well. All right. Okay, so let's begin with the slide. So as if you notice, if you ever still haven't noticed it, this is our new default logo. So hopefully you guys like it. And if you don't like it, also no choice because you pretty much going to start with it for a couple of years now. It's too late. And moving on, as usual, committee wise, everything we hang out is Engineers NY Slack group. Just go to the link there and join the Slack group. We have a couple of channels, so find the channel that you want, like support or meetups or Buzzcorner. If you have anything you to share, you can share the Buzzcorner Buzzcorner channel. If you got something crap to talk about, just post random and people will start to pinpoint you and talk to you. I'm sure a lot of people that were active they got nothing much to do anyway and they're bored, stuck at home. Like all of us and like me also, kind of bored at home. So yeah, so that's one. And then the other meetups you can look it forward in devkami.com meetups. Other than that, we have KLJS, Junior Dev, and plenty more. I think a couple of things. If you, I think from the European side and American side, New York and everything, the meetups, they are actually running a lot of stuff and online. So you probably want to check that out in the meetup page itself. You want to join them. So probably there's a good thing about this everyone going online and sharing is, although you're across the world, you can still go ahead and check it out what the speaker are talking and interact with them in the comment section, everything lah. So that's a good thing, only good thing. So, and house rule, mic sharing, just comment, keep it clean lah. So be participative. So I want you guys to comment, but with the good comments and questions, please give us a lot of questions, especially to the speakers. They are eager for questions, so please torture them with your questions. And thanks for this time for Confluent. So sponsoring the speakers I call for this time. And also we have the online edition. So we still have the Buzzcorner Q&A. So we added jobs and for this time as well. And also we have a special announcement. So if you notice when I post a comment in the Facebook, probably notice that we also have a chance to win a Surface Go thanks to Microsoft, right? So I'm going to tell that more about it later on in a while as well. So yep. Any questions? Feel free to drop in the comment section, the Facebook comment or YouTube comments. If you find the YouTube Facebook video is not clear and everything, you can just join the YouTube one. YouTube one is much better. And if you have Twitch fan, you can also join the Twitch. You can just look for the engineers MY lah. So see, we're everywhere except for soon. Probably we also join the Twitter as well. So yep, this is what I'm telling you about. So if you have a chance, you can take a screenshot of this. So Microsoft is happy to partner with us for the Cloud Skills Challenge. So this challenge is going to run from 11 August until 12 September. So at the midnight. So what you're going to do is the DevOps engineer aspect question. So you need to go there and challenge yourself, your skills, prove yourself how good you are, everything. There's a leaderboard as well. So you can see how many people actually join, how many people are actually participating, and where you stand. Currently, no one. So that's no one in the leaderboard. So if you want to win a chance to win it, so this is now your chance. But of course, I need to tell you also, there's a minimum 100 participants. So if it's only more than 100 participants, only Microsoft said they will give the Surface Go, Surface headphones, and JBL speaker lah. So please free, ask your friend to join and enjoy the challenge. I think pretty much DevOps manager, you guys are very skilled anyway, right? So this is like easy peasy for you, and because I mean we are bored at home, so I think should be fine lah. Make the DevOps manager proud a bit lah, right? For jobs, so this one I found one. So I'm gonna share this as well with the price. The salary range as well. So CoinGecko is hiring. So for DevOps, they're actually hiring across a pretty cross DevOps, product, and also engineering part. So I'm just sharing the DevOps salary range. So they are being transparent. That's why I'm sharing this. If you want to know how you want to join, you can ping me also, or also you can reach out in the LinkedIn. You can just search for CoinGecko and reach out to the HR, or you can go to the website also lah, at the career form, everything. I think the founders are very good. They've been around for quite some time. If you're not aware, CoinGecko is actually a Malaysian company. So I think they are taking a remote employee as well. So you can reach out to them, see how it works for you or not, and apply, see how it goes for you lah. And wish you the best of luck. And the salary is quite high, so you can see. I think I don't think many Malaysian company will match that. So even I'm considering should I or should I not? So go for it lah, if you think it's your thing. Next is the Buzzcorner. So this is the fun part. Everyone is waiting for it, right? We had a very exciting Buzzcorner last meetup. A lot of things were going on. A lot of things were breaking and going down. But sadly for this year, this month, we don't have much thing breaking down. It's very quiet in the tech world. Like nothing much actually going down. It's weirdly, like even the SRE, the global, the weekly, right? They also don't have much stuff that reporting that something is going down somewhere else. So since everything is going fine now, except the first one with the AWS. So just to, if you don't know yet and still relying on the EC2 Classic, basically this is what AWS used to start the IaaS in the beginning lah. So where everything started. So they actually retiring soon. I think you have about a year. So before they fully retire, so check it out and see how it is it even if you are affected or not, and so on lah. Next, we also have Wahid. So Wahid invest, if not, if particularly is a Malaysian like a robot advisor investment, I think. So they were down and the service was down quite some time lah. yeah, and then after that, a while, I was looking for the RCA. I couldn't find it, so I only have this status saying that's go down, and then after a while, it went up again. So hopefully in future they probably can do a RCA, so we can like share it with you guys as well. So it's very good something to read on, right? And I found something. So Wikipedia have a Grafana with the observability for entire thing. So I share the slide of it, the screenshot of it. You can, this is for the traffic of the front end traffic and the caching and everything. You can access through grafana.wikimedia.org. So the link is down there as well. So what I suggest is just go to the link and check it out, play around. They open it, so you actually knows what's going on with Wikipedia infrastructure in the back. They share the entire Grafana publicly, so you can see how they done the graph. So this is just a beautiful thing. Actually, I mean, for me, it's a very beautiful thing to look at and go through it lah, with the URL and the requests you're getting, how many requests they're getting, what is actually went down, how is it going, how they capturing the traffic, and all that can be seen visualized in their dashboard through their Grafana lah. It's nothing is blocking. You don't have to log in and everything. So please do check it out so you know more and you can learn a bit if you're interested. For me, it's just a beautiful thing to look at. Yeah. And also to announce, if you are a fan of the developer survey 2021, so they also announced it. Stack Overflow, our famous, which recently was bought over. They have announced their 2021 developer survey. I'm not going to share what they found found it. What's the survey result is about. So you can just go Google it, Stack Overflow 2021 survey, and figure out yours, and then look at it yourself, what is related to yourself. I think a couple of things are pretty exciting compared to last year. A couple of things, languages, framework also changed. Developers, I think because of developers and attack, how speed attack are picking up in the worldwide thanks to, I mean, due to the pandemic, right? There's a lot of changes. So I think that's something probably want to look at it, looking at the trend, where is it going, everything, so you can prepare ahead. And of course, I need to share this, right? So this screenshot was taken around 8 p.m. So we are Malaysia at number number third. So if you still think that we can win the goal, since we missed out on the Olympic, right? So you can go and click the popcat and make sure you won the popcat. If you don't know the link, it's popcat.click, and it's a bit going viral and trendy in the Twitter, Facebook, everyone sharing. A couple of scripts available as well to actually run and click so that you can get a maximum number of clicks. So go feel free. It's a very quick, cute cat as well. So yeah, please make our Malaysia proud a bit. So please go there and support Malaysia. Yep. And the next one is the new video. So it's out for Linux, but they added, basically what happened here is they added the VK KHR Windows Service support lah. So this is a fresh update for the production branch of it. So so a couple of changes there as well. If you want to know more what the extension does, how it affects the performance and everything, like R Factor 2 and everything, right? So just go on the link and check it out. I think this is useful for the gaming people, especially, right? You guys. And next one is the Unity. So if you're aware of Unity is mainly on the real-time 3D content. So basically they announced that they actually going to acquire the Parsec. Parsec is basically a remote desktop and streaming technology company lah. Very high perform. I think something compare will be a Stadia. Is it Stadia? Not mistaken, Stadia from Google, something, right? So basically something like that. So they acquired. So probably this going to something new, exciting thing going to come out from Unity lah. So they're the world leader in the platform, so they're probably going to come up with new stuff and everything. So something to look out for you guys if you're interested in that field. And on GitHub, so GitHub actually announced a funny thing lah. Basically, the CEO I think Net announced it in the Twitter. So yeah, check it out, and it's quite funny lah. So for you, you don't have to go and the shortcut is actually need to press the dot. So what will happen is you're going to open the editor lah. So they have the editor Explorer, which is I share the screenshot of it on the slide as well. So you can go and check it out if you're interested, or probably you've already figured out anyway, right? I think it's pretty cool to play around. So yeah. And yeah, so Essentials says that log ransomware attack caused no impact. So basically what happened here is Essentials data, I mean, they were listed on one of the leaked website lah. So which leaked website, probably if you guys are aware, you can check it out lah. There's many out there, right? So one of it was leaked as Essential and the data, everything. But what Essential was saying that it basically didn't cause any impact. and the data is probably came from the insider. So but there's no impact on the operational clients. Whether it's true or whether it's not true, no, I don't know. So yeah, just to be something to be aware of the ransomware, especially nowadays. Like there's a lot of ransomware going on, right? I think the last meetup we actually shared a couple of like pipeline even got with the start with the ransomware and everything, right? So yeah, be careful, secure your application and your software. I mean your infra and everything. And next thing is also NTT. If you're not sure, NTT is a Japanese company. So they basically launching a global private 5G network as a service. So nowadays it's like platform as a service, software as a service. Maybe I don't know, everything as a service nowadays, right? That's how they promote and the selling and the way the trend is going, right? So now we NTT have what you call a 5G network as a service platform. So I think it's a good brand. I mean, good something is it's a good thing. Like, it's the first of kind which is available globally, right? How it works in practicality, that's something need to be watch out and need to be see as more people pick it up and using it, and then probably know better. Hopefully, this will make our internet or network better a bit if they are using it in Malaysia lah. Next, yep, so I think this is another news been going on for like some time. So I think this is basically where now it's confirmed that Google and Facebook basically going to skip Malaysia for the apricot. So they're going to go with Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, Indonesia, pretty much everyone around Malaysia except for Thailand and us. So basically that's the update lah. So the new cable is going to connect the Japan and Southeast Asia. This what happened recently. So yep, so our internet connectivity, I don't think so going to improve anytime soon. And another thing with that we need to take note also is Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and Netflix. They also have teamed up basically to launch the EBF Foundation. Basically, the goal here is to do with transformational technology, redefine the networking, security, tracing, and observability. Basically, this is where the new technology trends coming from the traditional enterprise infra that probably have, right? I think majority of big companies in Malaysia are very outdated and very traditional a bit in the tech. So I think this is where, put it in perspective, this is where this comes in as transformational to help in with a new type of networking, new type of security that need to be aware, how do tracing and observability as well. So this is actually a very one step ahead for the tech side, especially those still companies in a very very backdated way, in a way to move forward, take the giant leap of forward in front, right? And also a quick one is Microsoft paused its free trial of Windows 365 because of the unbelievable demand. So they halted the 365 trial. I'm not sure whether it's still halted or is it continued already. So I haven't checked yet. This has been a while actually, this news. So maybe they already continued the free trial. So I'm not sure, but you want to check it out. But to put it out there, they paused it for a while, the free trial, because of they call it very unbelievable demand. Whether it's true or not, I'm not sure. So up to you guys. I'm leaving it that too. So that comes to the end to the Buzzcorner. And again, if you just join, this is the stuff in the partnership collaborating with the Microsoft. So the challenge continues from 11 August to 12 September. Basically need to do a couple of challenges, DevOps engineer aspect collection challenges. So how to access it, you can go to the link here. Basically aka.ms/DevOps MYCS21. So the link is on the screen as well. I think you need to type it out. I will share it in the meetup message later on after the event as well. So if you guys missed out, you can share as well. I mean, you can click on it as well. So currently no one yet. So so if you're one of the if you reach 100 people and you are one of the you basically came out the leaderboard as a top person by 12 September, yeah, you can go walk away with the Surface Go, or if you're second, probably with the Surface headphone or the JBL speaker. So yeah, go free, prove yourself, play around with it, go and show your skills. Any questions? If no questions, I will continue, and then we have the speaker in a short while, like 1 or 2 minutes. So I think they are already waiting in the background. So if you have any question during the speaker as well, or just feel free to drop in the comments, like Facebook comment or the YouTube comment, and then we were happy to answer it after the session. Hopefully we have more questions so we can make it more vibrant and more lively. Especially nowadays it's online, right? I feel more like talking to the wall. So if you read the comments and everything inside, it's kind of like give us some encouragement a bit lah. So yep, I'm gonna. So I'm gonna bring in Gerald basically as a speaker next. So in meanwhile, just feel free to put in the comments and everything so I can if any question or not, I will bring it up later on. I think a lot of people watching it, so that's good. That's good to hear. If you have any feedback also, if you just joined, any feedback, feel free to reach out to me. If you want to be a speaker, please reach out to me as well. Drop in a message and I can help you as a speaker. If you want to sponsor or do anything, reach out to me as well. And okay, so I'm gonna bring firstly Gerald. Hey, hi Gerald, you're on the screen, and also have a surprise. Tommy as well. So Gerald going to be a speaker, and we have Tommy as well as a surprise addition. So they're going to talk about Apache Apache DevOps, Kafka DevOps with Kubernetes. And for Gerald, just to give a quick intro, right? It's basically a solution engineer at Confluent. So they basically Confluent want to reach out to us to actually want to do and sponsoring the speaker. So thanks to them, we have a speaker. So, and we also have Tommy, so he's also from Kafka as well. So I'm gonna leave it. Yeah. Sorry, I was shut with the comment. So someone was saying that the beard is damn long. Yeah, like I said. So I said, yes, it's long. I'm finally the bubble is open, so I can go out and get a haircut and make sure myself are taken care. So if you're out there, take care of yourself. If not vaccinated, go vaccinated. Hopefully we can all back to what we wanted lah. I mean, what you guys all wanted, and take care of mental health also lah. So all right, I'm gonna leave the floor to Gerald. Tommy, take it away. All right.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Devon. Yeah, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here today. So it is actually our pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot, Devon. And in tonight's installment, actually, we have Gerald, who is a solution engineer. Basically, we are from a company called Confluent. It's one of the leading brand in Apache Kafka. And today, Gerald is actually going to help us to demystify about the topic of Apache Kafka and its role in the ever-growing digital and microservices world. So I think essentially everyone probably heard of Kafka or have used Kafka in some of the other projects, right? But there's so many interpretations of Kafka, which is why we have Gerald today. So Gerald, just to start off, maybe you could just also provide a brief introduction about yourself.
Hey everyone, thanks Tommy, and once again, first of all, thank you, Devon, for letting us speak at DevOps Malaysia. It's really an honor. So just an introduction about myself. I used to be in a company called Cubo, where we help companies build big data infrastructures. So for example, if you know about data lake architecture, I used to work with technologies like Hive, Hadoop, Spark, Trino, and Presto. So now I'm in Confluent, and basically I'm helping companies build real-time applications and helping them run, business-critical applications in a data in motion architecture. So back to you, Tommy.
Yeah, that's interesting, Gerald. So now I feel a bit ashamed about my own credibility. So Gerald is so young and experienced in the area of data management. But so Gerald, in any case, my role today is kind of like an interviewer for you. So to drive the right questions and hopefully answer some of the audience's questions. So I'm pretty sure the audience is all fired up to learn more about Kafka. And I guess the first question in everyone's mind, right? Because I think recently, when it comes to going to LinkedIn or Facebook, some of you guys will probably seen a lot of advertising about Kafka and the concept of data in motion, right? But from your perspective as a technical expert, right? So would you mind explaining a little bit more about the concept of data in motion and Apache Kafka, especially explaining to the audience what it means beyond the marketing sense?
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so before I go into data in motion, let's first figure out the problem and what companies are facing today and why they want to move towards something like a real-time event streaming architecture. So if you look at the slide now, you might feel a little bit confused on where to look at, because that's how it's meant to make you feel. Currently, when businesses grow today, they grow from having one line of business to two, to more than that, and they end up wanting also a hybrid infrastructure with a public cloud. If they're using multiple technologies, especially if they have multiple teams that are connected to different applications connected to different databases, you're going to end up, with an architecture like this. And this creates a whole mess, because applications no longer, it's so hard for them to figure out, which database they should get for a certain set of data from a certain line of business. And that's where the data in motion architecture was born. So look, this is the paradigm for data in motion. It's event streaming, right? Where you can have real-time events from different applications. It could be a sale, a shipment, a trade, a customer experience. And this can flow through what we call real-time event streams that are created by that can be supported by a Kafka infrastructure. And from there, you can actually consume these real-time data that's coming in, that's flowing in from applications. You can sync it into a database, and that's basically the data in motion architecture.
Right. Thanks, Gerald. I mean, that is a quite refreshing view on how the data architecture works. But let's turn up the heat a little, right? Because in essence, I think a lot of people work with data as well. But in your opinion, right, how is this different? How would this new technology and architecture benefit the developers of digital application and microservices?
Right. So that brings me to the next point, which is implementing Apache Kafka as a central nervous system. So if you think about it, earlier in the diagram, you saw that we had so many different types of databases. It could be Oracle, it could be a data lake like Amazon S3, it could be Snowflake, and you also can have logs, you can have applications coded in multiple different languages and microservices. So how do you connect all these things together, and how do you then create event streaming applications to make use of this data in real time? So the answer in the data in motion architecture is that you can have like an infrastructure like Apache Kafka sit in the middle, and your applications can all have their data produced as messages. Kafka then stores these messages in a central nervous system, where you can then build event streaming applications. Things like real-time inventory. An example of a company doing this worldwide is Walmart. They have a huge real-time inventory system built on top of Apache Kafka. You can have real-time fraud detection. This is a very common use case, especially in banking, where billions of dollars of fraud happen so often, and they kind of need to act on these kind of frauds really quickly to save as much money as possible, and to save to create a better customer experience for their banking customers as well. So all these critical applications can all be built in an event streaming architecture where Kafka sits in the middle.
Okay. So in short, what you're saying is that it's not enough just to gather the data, but Kafka allows you to gather the data across different systems in real time, right? Without bottlenecks and choke points. But just to get your thoughts as well, right? Because there are probably a lot of other mechanisms that does this as well. How would you compare Kafka with current technologies like MQ, APIs, and also service bus?
Yeah, so in essence, Kafka is also very similar to a message queue or an enterprise messaging system, as you can see over here. How Kafka works is that you publish and subscribe to streams of events stored in what we call topics. And how it's different from traditional messaging systems is that it is not a fire and forget model, which means that if you start publishing messages into Kafka, it is stored in a fault-tolerant way where you can replay your messages. So there is something called a retention period, which you can set. Let's say you want to store your messages for 3 days, 1 week, 1 month, or even an infinite retention period. You can do that. So it's no longer fire and forget, like for example, MQ, where you send a message, someone consumes it, and it's gone. Over here, you can have multiple consumers. You can have data flowing into a database as a sink. You also can process this streams of events in a low latency real-time manner.
Okay. So it's kind of like a Snapchat versus WhatsApp history kind of thing, right? Where if I wanna send message and delete all my historical things. So Kafka is more like a WhatsApp where it stores the history. That's what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. But on top of you can also have, if you're using the WhatsApp analogy, instead of having a one-to-one messaging system, you can also have a group chat where you can have multiple consumers listening to the messages that are coming in real time. On top of that, when it comes to Kafka messaging, it is also done in a distributed fashion where you can have multiple partitions in topics, right? Where multiple producers can write into a topic in a parallel fashion, and it also can be consumed in a parallel fashion as well. So you can have one consumer consuming, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the same offset. You can replay messages. So one consumer can be at offset 4, as you see in this diagram, and another consumer can be further off in the offset count.
I see. So essentially, this system becomes quite fault tolerant. That's what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So Gerald, I mean, basically, I think the audience is also have done their own research, right? And there are plenty and tons of material online with regards to Kafka, with regards to getting started with Kafka, and probably 1,000 more on how Kafka should be deployed and integrated. But I guess, instead of reading all these articles, from your experience as a person who has played around with Kafka a lot, they're probably very interested to know what is the secret sauce behind Kafka. For example, if they were about to embark on a journey with Kafka, what should they look out for? How should they get started, and how they can bring value to their projects easily?
So it's really easy to get started with Kafka. So if you look at Kafka clients, you can basically get started with any of your comfort languages. Okay, if you're good at Node.js, we Kafka has a client for Node.js. If you're good with Java, I mean that is basically what it's written in, right? So you can choose the language that you want to start in, and if you look into the open source community, like if you search in GitHub today for different types of clients which you can implement Kafka as a producer or a consumer, or if you want to write streaming applications, there are dozens of different kinds of libraries that you can implement it in. So it's really easy to get started. The next thing I want to talk about is something called Kafka Connect. So part of the Apache Kafka project in the open source world, there is a technology called Kafka Connect, where you can actually connect different sorts of databases. So some examples of Kafka connectors, you can think about MySQL, Postgres, Oracle DB, SQL Server. They have like an open source Debezium connectors where you can have change data capture from these databases, have these messages flowing into Kafka in a real-time manner. And you can also use Kafka Connect not just for a source, but a sink. So if you wanted to get started on an events-driven architecture or a data in motion architecture, then it's really easy to get started with both clients and connectors.
Nice. So, actually, Gerald, there's some questions from Azrul, but I think we'll save it for the session because I think you have a live demo as well, right?
Yeah.
So, on to my next question, which is kind of a more pressing topic, because you mentioned on a very good thing. Kafka is just the main system, right? More importantly, we look at streaming applications as well, which is applications that actually use those messaging streams or events, right? And of course, this group being DevOps Malaysia group. The audience is probably pretty well versed in DevOps. So I guess my question probably in line with what the audience would like to know as well. So in the world of DevOps, right, how do I deploy Kafka together with my streaming applications? Or how do I integrate the deployment of Kafka or configuring of Kafka in my DevOps chain? So do I create a separate DevOps chain? How do I actually do it? Because this involves things like DevOps, GitOps, streaming ops, right? because I just want to deploy together with my streaming applications when I do some changes. So what advice do you have, how on integrating Kafka into DevOps?
So that really brings us to the main topic of today, which is DevOps with Kafka and Kubernetes. So if you take a look here, what we're going to be discussing today as a main topic in DevOps is how we can deploy what we call streaming ops in Kafka, right? And we're going to combine various technologies that we have here. So the first of all, I mean, if you want to have a streaming ops architecture, you will need a Git repository. Today we're going to use GitHub for that. You're going to need something to synchronize to your Git repository to push it into Kubernetes so that changes can be applied in a continuous deployment manner. And we're going to use Flux for that today. As for hosting our applications in a containerized manner, we're going to use Kubernetes for that. So to go on ahead, Tommy, you wanted to say something?
No. I think it smells like you have a demo coming. Please go ahead.
Yeah. No, so like first of all, what is GitOps, right? I'm sure since it's a DevOps group, everybody already knows pretty much what it is. But for the benefit of anyone who is new to it, it is basically continuous deployment for cloud native applications. You basically have your code in a repository as infrastructure as code, right? And you can have declarative specs. You can create an automation to deploy and match this declarative spec. So for example, if you have a merge into your GitHub repository, if you have a pull request that you then apply the changes as well, all these changes can then get picked up. In this case, we're going to use Flux to be the change data capture per se for GitHub to get these changes applied into my production runtime environment. Okay, so this is what we're going to look at today, and I hope this is visible. And if not, please do let me know in the comments, if then I can try to zoom this in. So what we're going to look at is basically Kafka DevOps in GitHub, where we have an environment with secrets. We have a Kubernetes cluster where we can have Flux deployed there with listening in to the GitHub changes. And from then on, we can actually have services and deployments made to microservices, to pods in Kubernetes, as well as to deploy all these different infrastructures into Confluent Cloud, right? So let me just explain to you what Confluent Cloud is.
Jerrold, sorry, but can you zoom in a bit? Like, I think it's very blurry.
Yeah, sorry about that. Give me a second. Okay, so if we look into the middle layer here, you're gonna see that we have a Kubernetes cluster with Flux. And sorry about not for it not being visible. I hope it's clearer now. You can see that we will have a Kubernetes API listening in from Flux, where you can have services and deployments connecting to microservices and pods. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin up streaming applications that will live in the containers. And we're also going to use a Confluent Cloud operator to get a Kafka cluster ready in Confluent Cloud. So we're going to use Confluent Cloud today because it's a fully managed Kafka ecosystem. And for the sake of a demo, it's really good as well because I can show you how it looks like in a GUI. But in fact, if you want to use anything else, like if you want to use Kafka deployed open source in Kubernetes, that can be done. If you want to use your own local Kafka environment, you can do that as well, right? The reason why I chose Confluent Cloud is because it's fully managed and it's really easy to help you to visualize how it looks like in a demo, okay? So the next thing that we want to take a look at is how I'll show you a little bit about the code in my repository, but what actually goes on behind the hood is that you can have a YAML configuration file that says, I want to create a cluster of this size. I want to create maybe a dozen of topics in there and what kind of topics. So these configurations get picked up from GitHub. The changes get detected by a shell operator, which invokes hooks to a Confluent Cloud operator. it converts it into a format that's understandable, and this deployment then gets deployed in my production runtime environment in Confluent Cloud in my Kafka cluster. So along with that, all my different applications can also be spun up in this Kubernetes cluster, and I'm going to show you that in a demo, right? And so right now, I'm going to move on to the demo. But before that, Tommy, do you have anything to add?
Oh, no. Actually, I think everybody is quite interested to look at the demo. So essentially, what you're saying here is that I can now configure the Kafka the way my DevOps process wants it. So if I develop an application, I can make changes to my Kafka, and it can be done in the same DevOps chain, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Okay. So yeah, on to your demo, my friend.
Okay. So first of all, let me explain what's going on in this demo environment. The first thing I've done is to create a local Kubernetes cluster, and I'm basically using K3D. So if you look into my Docker containers, and you'll be able to see that I have a few different containers that are spun up in Docker right now. These will serve as my nodes in my Kubernetes cluster. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to first spin up a secret controller, and that's going to allow me to manage secrets, right? Because when it comes to creating, a MySQL database, as well as connecting to your Kafka cluster, you might have some username and passwords that you might want to hide there. So this secrets container will allow me to kind of commit secrets into my GitHub. So for example, I can actually encrypt the secrets using a public key, put that encrypted version of my secrets and commit that into GitHub, so that I don't have to worry about my secrets being available in plain text, because that's the last thing I want to do, right? If you are committing username and passwords into GitHub, there's a high chance, even if it's private, it's highly insecure. So this is just going to take like a few seconds to start. But before that, maybe I could explain a little bit about what we're deploying here in Kubernetes. So on top of the Kafka infrastructure that we're going to have deployed in Confluent Cloud, what we're also going to do is to deploy an application that is an entire orders and shipping service. So you have an order web UI that goes into a payment service, that goes into a shipping service where users can interact with it using a web GUI as well. And this entire streaming flow can then be deployed as an infrastructure as code. So back to the demo, this is up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate a private key so that we can use this key to encrypt the secrets. And the next thing I'm going to do is to use kubectl to create a secret from a file that is in my that contains my Confluent Cloud details. Obviously, I can't show you this file, but I can show you the next file, right? The next file actually shows an example of some different props that I have for my MySQL connection. So in the backend, we're also using streaming ops to kind of deploy a database that we can then use to connect into Confluent Cloud, right? So as you can see here, we have the root password, we have username and passwords that are here, and this can obviously be shared because it's just a local environment. But what this library does is that it actually obfuscates the secrets into a form that's unreadable and unusable for users unless you have the private key. So once that's done, we'll now make the secrets, and I'm going to now commit all these secrets into my GitHub environment. So I'm just going to have a random commit message, and I'm going to push this into my repository. Okay. Yep, and that's done. Looks like I just had a conflict. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start this entire streaming ops application. And how that's going to happen is that I'm going to start making I'm going to start installing Flux into my Kubernetes cluster now. Once I do this, what's going to happen next is that Flux is going to pick up all the different infrastructure as code that I have in my GitHub repository. So just to give you an idea, this is the repository that I'm using. It is forked from one of the projects that I can send you a link of later. So this repository basically has all my workflows, all my code, the databases that I want to deploy, the streaming applications that I want to deploy. And when I deploy Flux, it's going to pick all of this up and deploy that entire infrastructure. So if I look into Confluent Cloud now, you can see I only have a single environment and a single cluster. And this is basically fully managed Kafka, right? Like I said earlier, you can actually use anything that you want as your Kafka infrastructure. It doesn't have to be Confluent Cloud, but I'm using this because it's really visual and nice, right? So yeah, I'm going to start running this now. But what it's going to do, unfortunately, it's actually going to have a private key visible here. So I'm just going to move this away into my other monitor so that I do not get hacked live in real time, right? Okay, and the next thing it's going to ask me to do is to also create a new SSH key into my GitHub account so that it can actually pick up the information from this repository. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to call it Flux. And the installation is still in process, but right now it's almost done. Okay, so once again, going to have to move this screen away and paste it in, create the key, type in my password, and it's done, right? So we can see that a new key called Flux is being created here. And I'm just going to clear my screen a little bit so that I can move it back in. And yeah, okay, that didn't work out well. Right, okay. So right now what Flux is doing is that it has picked up that I've added the key in. It's just going to take a few seconds. Yeah, my terminal is going crazy from all the enters that I pressed to clear the screen. So as you can see here, the GitHub deploy key is ready. The cluster bootstrap is done. And what that means is that Flux is now installed and deployed, is starting to pick up all the infrastructure as code that I have in my GitHub repository. And it's going to start creating the different cluster and environments that I have in as I configured in the streaming ops GitHub repository, right? So if I refresh this now, it might not happen so fast, but oh yeah, there we go. So a new environment is created, and it's going to take some time. But what you're going to notice as we move on towards this demo is that a cluster will then be created, the streaming apps will then be created, and the topics will happen as well. So let's take a look at the progress on how this is going. So kubectl get all. Yeah, it looks like some of the deployment is done, but unfortunately, we might not be able to see the entire flow being done in this demo itself. It usually takes about 15 minutes at minimum. So I'm just going to show you as much as I can, right? So as you can see here, we have a Connect service which connects data from my MySQL database into Kafka. We have an email service, we have a fraud service, inventory service, and so on, right? But essentially, what's going to happen now is that you're going to see that we have a live cluster that's currently running, okay? And this cluster is going to be the Kafka backbone and the data in motion architecture backbone of all my streaming applications that I've shown you earlier. So if we take a look at topics, you can see that some topics may or may not have been created, but let's just give it a moment. Yeah, topics have not been created yet, but just to give you an idea on how the infrastructure of as code actually looks like, if we go into the Confluent Cloud YAML file, you can see that you can then choose, like, let's say I want to create a bunch of different topics for my Kafka cluster, I can actually set them up in a configuration file like this, okay? And what it will do is that it will create the cluster and it will create the topics, and these streaming applications will then use these topics to produce and consume data from, right? So back to
Wow.
Confluent Cloud, and yeah, let me just refresh this. Tommy, you had something to say?
No, I'm saying that I think I just lost my job because you did everything from app to middleware in less than 10 minutes. but go
Yeah.
on. Sorry.
No worries at all. Okay, so as you can see here, the topics that I've defined in my infrastructure as code is now slowly populating, right? But I mean, the coolest thing about GitOps is that you can make changes to this infrastructure, and you can track these changes. You know, if something goes wrong, you can always revert. You can do Git things like you can blame a specific branch and figure out how you want to move on from there. So every single change that you do is tracked within the repository itself. So for example, if I wanted to, let's say, add a topic, what I could do is basically to change the code. And yeah, I mean, if you have a production environment, please do not do what I'm doing. Please do not just edit the code in GitHub itself and do a push. I'm just doing this for the sake of a demo, right? So as you can see right now, we have orders. Maybe let's have a new class of members here. Let's have a copper class, right? We do not currently have copper in Confluent Cloud. So we have a whole bunch of different topics that are created here. But as you can see, if I create a copper class and commit these changes, so what you'll see is that this file has been pushed into this current branch of the repository. The next thing we're gonna do is, we can wait for Flux to pick up this change. Obviously, that's what you would do in a normal setup, but this usually takes a few minutes. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna purposely kind of speed this up and run a command that's gonna pick up the changes immediately. So by running this command, it's gonna actually sync with my GitHub repository, and it's gonna pick up those changes and apply them into Confluent Cloud, right? Or if you're using your own Apache Kafka infrastructure, that can be done as well. So as you can see, it's synchronized with my GitHub repository. The revision of the main to the version of the main to apply is this particular string, and once it's applied, it's done. But of course, with the shell operator and the Confluent Cloud operator, these changes won't be done instantly. It will actually take a minute or two to reflect these changes. And because I'm using like a 5-node Kubernetes infrastructure as my local MacBook, which isn't really fast, this might not actually be picked up immediately, right? But in a nutshell, this is basically the demo that I wanted to show today, and I really hope you enjoyed it. So as you can see here, we do have copper that has already been applied immediately once I push those changes into GitHub, right? So I mean, if you're thinking of having a streaming ops architecture and an infrastructure as code with Kafka, this is the approach that you should definitely think about going for, right?
Wow, Gerald, thanks. I've heard of presentations that were so good that we were able to close the sale. This is the first time I've seen a demo that is so good it's attracting job offers in the comment. Right. So anyway, this is really cool. Keep the job offers coming. I'll be his agent. But anyway, in view of being short in time, I just want to also check right with Gerald, because we probably have Q&A after this as well. Before we go into Q&A, any last nuggets of knowledge and resource for those who are interested in getting started with Kafka or getting started with streaming ops? any resources that you can share with them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, first of all, if you check out this QR code, it will bring you to our Confluent developer page, and you can actually get started with Confluent in a community edition for free. And if you don't want to use Confluent, if you want to use open source Apache Kafka, this is actually a great resource that you can use to learn Kafka as well. Because most of the documentation here that you see is actually related to open source Kafka. So you can choose if you want to use Confluent, which has some added features, or you can just go ahead and use this knowledge to build event streaming applications with open source Kafka as well. So I highly recommend checking, the developer page that we have out here. Second thing is, do check out this link to join your local Kafka user group in Malaysia. And if you want to ask any questions to the Confluent fellow community members, this is the link that you can use as well. We have a Slack channel if you have any problems with your development with Kafka, or if you have any questions about Confluent, here is a place to bring them up, right? And finally, one last thing is that if you like what you see earlier, fully managed Kafka and Confluent Cloud, here's a $60 voucher, right? Please feel free to try it out. If you sign up for Confluent Cloud, you're going to get $200 for free. If you use this voucher, it's an additional $60. So if you like what you saw earlier, please go ahead and take a look, right?
Yeah, and that's not going to come out of our salary, right, Gerald?
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, bad joke. So Devin, we'll hand it over to you for the Q&A.
Okay.
Sorry about all the bad jokes, man.
No worries. I think it's a good one. I think probably if you see Gerald go missing after this, you probably know where he went. Based on the comment.
Yeah. For those who are interested in hiring Gerald, right? It's gerald.law@gothroughme.com.
I hope you still have a job.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Just in case you want to know the price range, you can also check out our earlier that I shared. Basically hiring by CoinGecko. They have come up with a transparency with basically salary. They're hiring for the DevOps from junior level all the way to the C level. So you can check out the slide as well, so you know what's the price. And so I think we have a couple of questions and in the comments, and let's bring it up one by one. If you still have anyone you're watching, right, so you have still questions, feel free to drop any questions. And then we will bring it out and we'll try to answer your questions and any doubts and everything. I think so before that, I think earlier on someone mentions I need to clear this out before misunderstood. It's not someone first. So I already have 1 month plus after my second dose, so it's already more than 1 month. So yes, you only can go out and all the shops and everything, get a bubble or everything if you got your second dose, and it's 14 days after your second dose only. So if you're not sure, that's I clarify for you guys. So don't just go out. Make sure you got second dose and wait for 14 days before you're going out. All right. Okay, let's see back to the business and try to get some questions. I think Azrul had a good question earlier. Yep. Okay. So Azrul. Yep. Azrul had a question of, do we have only once consumer guarantee?
Yeah. So we do have something called an exactly once guarantee, and that's really easy to implement in Kafka. You basically have a config called idempotency, and that allows you to guarantee that any messages that are produced in Kafka and consumed happens only exactly once. So we do have that guarantee there.
Yep. So there you go. There's a guarantee on that. And then looking for more comments other than the job offer. And
Sorry, Devin. I like the one, the kubectl apply -f new _prime _minister.yaml.
I'll share. I mean, okay.
Sorry, man. That's just a joke. That's just a joke. Sorry.
It's a joke, but I'm not going to say anything more. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully everything turns out well, and let's keep it. Okay. Let me find one more. Okay, I have one more question. Will we be able to get our hands on the presentation slides? There's a lot of valuable insight on it. I think they're very happy to share the slides.
Yeah,
I'm not sure whether they're happy to share the demo though.
No problem at all. Yeah,
But the demo you have to do it yourself with the $60.
No. So this demo, I've done it in Confluent Cloud, but you can actually also deploy it in open source Kafka if you wish, right? So what I'll do is I'll also include the GitHub link for the repository that I presented in. I'll include it in the slides, and I can share it with you as well. Yeah.
Yep, I think you can also share with me. I can after this when I go sending a message out, can include the link as well for them. Yep. Yeah. So please, more questions, please. I'm running out of questions. So I have one question for you guys. Talking about Apache Kafka, right? Kafka itself, it's only meant for high streaming, or is it high performing application, or is it like even like not a very high performing application? How do you differentiate which the best case to use Kafka? So maybe you want to explain a bit on that, lah.
Yeah, so I mean, the main reason why it's built is for business critical applications, things like that depend on real time applications. So if you have a critical use case like fraud detection, anomaly detection, then that's what Kafka is really good for. But we have also seen a lot of users use Kafka for basic services like getting data from point A to point B. For example, if you have a legacy system, and you want to get data from an Oracle database, you want to put it into something more modern and more relevant in today's world, like, for example, a database in the cloud or a data lake, then that could also be use cases that can be used. So it doesn't necessarily have to be high performance. It is more, if you want to think about data sharing, then that's a great use case as well.
Yeah.
So it can be used for multiple different use cases. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Devin, just to add as well, we have had a lot of customers who use Kafka just for the sake of traceability and audit. So in essence, right, for example, when they work with microservices, it goes through a lot of steps and events that actually occur.
Yep.
They just try and use Kafka just for the purpose of traceability, even though it's not high performance.
So just to audience out there, right? If you, if you're not sure what is Kafka, it's not a company. It's basically it's open source. So it's not like a branding or selling or what. You can go and use it right now straight away. So and a lot of companies are actually using it since it's open source. So mainly for stream processing and basically when you have high throughput and then they're using it lah. Okay, I have a few more questions coming in, so let's answer that. So Usain have any good open source Kafka UI almost similar like Confluent Control Center?
So there is a open source UI developed by Yahoo. It's called CMAK. I think it's the Kafka Cluster Manager for Apache Kafka. That's the most popular one that I've seen people using as an alternative to Confluent Control Center. So if you Google CMAK Yahoo, you probably get a link right to it.
Okay. Yep. If you don't know who Usain is, he's one of the he loves to play around machine learning and a lot of stuff. So I think he play around with the Master as well. So yeah, go check out his stuff as well. His stuff is good So coming from what is that, right? Yeah. And then we have Sean next. So he's asking, is it possible for an embedded device with under 1 MB of RAM use Kafka either as consumer or producer? I think it's a good question.
Yep. So actually, there is a feature called the REST proxy, right, where you can use it with Kafka that allows you to actually produce and consume messages using the REST API. So if you have very low constraints and this device can support sending REST API requests, then I think that could be a way that you could look at.
Yep. I think while waiting for a couple more questions, right? I think I have a question of basically, wait, what's my question again? Let me get my thoughts. Basically earlier showing the Confluent everything, right? So it's one thing to call connectors. So maybe you want to share the connectors, right? What a connection you can do, or is it like can we do open source stuff, or what a connection you can do basically with it. So maybe you want to show around. Maybe you can share your screen as well. So for out there, you guys please free to drop your questions more. So we still have time. So just drop by your question and we'll answer it.
Yeah, so Steven, that's a great question, right? So maybe I'll share that slide again that I shown earlier. 1 second here.
Yep, sure.
So your question was around Kafka Connect and connectors,
Yep.
right? So what it basically does is that if you want to connect data from a source and you want to then push the data into a sink, what you would typically have to do is you would have to write out some code. Let's say if you want to connect to MySQL, you need to use like maybe a JDBC driver to then connect to that database and get that data out from there and push it into a different database, right? So the Kafka Connect framework is this framework that allows you to use ready-made connectors. So for example, if you have heard of Debezium, we have open source connectors out there that allows you to just easily download these connectors.
I think you want to zoom a bit.
Yeah, let me do that.
Command plus. All right, cool. Oops. Zoom out a bit. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So if you look at this left-hand panel here, Debezium has created open source connectors that you can use off the bat for technologies like MySQL, Mongo, Postgres, Oracle, SQL Server, and so on, right? So you can actually download these connectors. You don't have to write any code. You just have to plug in some different configurations, what is the URL of the database you want to connect to, the username and password, etc., databases and tables you want to look at. And these connectors would then pull the data and push it into Kafka. So it works both ways. You can get data from a source. You can also put data into a sink.
Yep, I think that's answers. And I have a follow-up question that from the maybe for the audience itself, right? So let me share while you keep sharing it. So you mentioned about Kafka Connect, connecting our database. Can we do a bulk import from either an entire database or possibly a single table with around 10 million records?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So this is exactly what the Kafka Connect use case is for. It allows you to get huge tables. It allows you to get data from huge tables. You can ingest that into Kafka. And not only can you bulk import all the data, you can also capture changes that are coming from there. So let's say after this 10 million records, you still have regular inserts that are coming in every second. The change data capture mechanism can actually get this data flowing into Kafka in real time. So you can connect microservices into these topics so that you can then build business critical use cases on top of it.
Yep, I think pretty much answer your question. So I have another one question. I think okay, this from Azul again. Can you share any big names in Malaysia using Kafka? So just to be clear, if you go to Apache Kafka website, you pretty much states there more than 80% of all Fortune 100 companies are using it. But this question is specifically in Malaysia. So, in Malaysia, which company is using it?
Yeah. Do you want me to take that, Gerald?
Yeah, go ahead, Tommy, please.
Yeah. So actually, with retrospect, because there are a lot of companies that are using Apache Kafka. Some of them have came to us for advice. Under Confluent, there are also some customers, but because we are under a non-disclosure agreement, we can't really reveal. But we are in industries such as telco, banking, as well as our favorite like manufacturing, logistics. We have a lot of customers who use Kafka, especially when there are a lot of events that happen in their system, like e-commerce and all that stuff. But unfortunately, I'm so sorry, Mr. Azrul, I can't share their specific names because of NDA.
Yep. Just to add on that, right? Basically, if you put it this way, companies that have high transaction, e-commerce and stuff, probably want to use it. Banking, like doing a lot of payments in a very short amount of time, still like a lot of transaction happening, right? So they will be using it as well. So mainly, I think pretty much can guess. I only got few in Malaysia, right? So, yeah, and I think based on the question on that as well, right? I think one of the comparison benchmark people usually does is for Kafka and also it's a RabbitMQ. So, so how do you think about RabbitMQ? Is it like comparison with Kafka, and which situation you need to use can use Kafka, and which situation can use RabbitMQ, or it doesn't matter at all? Like,
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's something that we get a lot, right? So in an MQ system, it's basically kind of like a fire and forget model, right? You put a message into the queue, someone consumes it, and the message is gone. So if that works for your use case, then I would say, MQ is sufficient for you, and it's good enough to work. But if you think about it, what Kafka allows you to do is that it allows you to retain the messages, so that you can have multiple consumers consuming from the main from the message as well. So that's really something that you can build on top of MQ itself, right? Where you can have replayability of messages, you can have better durability of the messages as well. Another thing about Kafka is that it is horizontally scalable. So it is much easier to scale when you have huge throughput of workloads. Okay, so for example, if you are currently today writing at 100 megabytes per second, and you have 5 times that amount in a few years, you can horizontally scale your Kafka cluster. So it's kind of like a future-proof architecture as well.
Okay, I think that's pretty much answered the question as well, right? So I have one more question, right? Like two more questions actually. First from Fami. So Fami have a question, right? So Kafka is supported to ingest few data formats such as JSON, Avro, and Photobuf. Which data format you recommend, and what's the scenario and benefit of each format?
Yeah, this is a really great question. So if you are thinking of having like a schema on your data, right? For example, if you want to create a schema so that you can invalidate some messages that are coming in that they are not adhering to a particular format, then I would say Avro would be the way to go, because it is compatible with something what we call a schema registry, which is also supported in open source Kafka. So you can create schema on top of your topics and ensure that data that's flowing in from your producers and data that's being consumed can adhere to a certain schema. And that's where Avro really shines, because it allows you to build a schema on top of your data. You would use JSON if you are more into having these raw messages in a certain format that can be easily consumed by your applications that expects this format, right? So which format you use is overall up to you, because JSON also can have a schema attached to it. It is just, in my opinion, a little bit harder to create that schema. But at the end of the day, it is mainly what you're comfortable with and what your applications expect.
Yep, I think I'm just happy that I didn't see CSV there, so I'm okay. Okay, now got one more question. Will you be able to give an example of client use case? So it's not a name of client or what, they want to just a use case. But FCI industry using Kafka. So I think just the use case, basically.
Yeah.
Like maybe the flow of it, how they're using it, and how does it benefit them, stuff.
Okay. So maybe Gerald, I can take this to a certain extent. Publicly, right? So we have use cases by Citigroup, right? Citigroup generally uses Kafka to collect all the customer interactions across their different channels. So everything from digital footprint, mobile banking, right up to customer service. So what happens is that Citigroup, in essence, right, when they collect all this information, they are stored in siloed database. But in order to serve their customer, they need this data to stream to their call centers. So immediately when the call center picks up your call and hears about your complaint, they know every single channel what your digital footprint was and what it has done. Others like Swiss Credit actually use it for fraud detection, like what Gerald has mentioned, because each payment order goes through the Kafka. So there is a traceability and pattern that is a footprint inside the Kafka itself. So based on that, right, you can feed it to machine learning or a big data model, right, that can help you flag out certain anomalies. So those are some of the use cases. Sorry, I misread that question, Ian. I thought you meant customers. Actually, you meant use cases.
Yeah, that's why.
No worries.
No, but it's okay, because
Yeah.
they are like these are public use cases, right? So if you want, you can even take a look at a few others, and you can read the customer stories. The good thing about Citibank is that they actually have a keynote where you can watch them talk about their use cases live. So if you ask this question, I'm sure this would be of great interest to you as well. Yeah.
Okay, I think that was a good one. So let me go back, change the screen a bit. Sorry. Okay, got it. Okay, I think we can take one or two more questions, right? Okay, we have Hatta asking, can elaborate more what you mean by durability of the messages?
Yeah, so this is a good question as well. So, what do you mean? What I mean by the durability of the messages is that how highly available it is. So, for example, in a typical Apache Kafka architecture, you would have about 3 brokers to guarantee better durability of the messages, which means that, for example, if you have 3 brokers, you have these brokers in different servers, right? And if you produce a message into a topic, we have something what we call replication, where this exact same message, will also be replicated into the other 2 servers, right? So you end up having 3 copies of the messages whenever you produce a single message. And if one of your servers go down completely, then the leader of the topic, that's what we call it, the leader will then transition to a different Kafka broker where this message will still can be read instead of being gone forever. So this is one example of durability of messages.
Wait, yeah, okay. Okay, I think that's good. 9:45. Want to take one last one? Okay, I think before this, I think we need to make one thing clear. There's a difference between Confluent Kafka and also Apache Kafka. So Confluent Kafka is more towards the data processing side. Meanwhile, Apache Kafka is more towards the data operation, which is the pub and sub. I think if you're using familiar with GCP, they have pub sub as well. I think AWS is the shit. I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway.
MSK.
Yeah, MSQ. All right. And yeah. So go ahead, Gerald or Tommy. You want to get answer this question? Like, what is the other offering?
Yeah, so actually Confluent, right? So the story about Kafka, essentially, as you guys know, the history of it, it was founded in LinkedIn. So essentially, the guys who developed Apache Kafka and open sourced it, they came out and formed Confluent. So we are only dedicated to Kafka and all its surrounding ecosystems. So we're kind of specialists with Kafka. Anything to do with Kafka, the security of Kafka, the deployment of Kafka. So we're really more focused on Kafka.
Okay. I think, Gerald, do you have anything to add?
No, yeah, that's
While I'm thinking whether to take the last question or not, because I think that question is have a debate as well.
yeah. I'd rather not answer that one also. So
Yeah, I can't believe it. You're asking for it. Yeah, go for it.
no, I say I'd rather not answer that one also.
Oh, rather not. Okay. Yeah, okay. We're not gonna answer that. I think you can Google it if you want to know why. I think there's a debate going on that part. But if you're interested on that question, you can check it out more. I think that's about it. The question for us today. Yeah, I think you have anything last to say before we end it? Maybe Tommy or Tommy, you go first. Yeah.
No worries, no worries. I was just about to pass the session over to Gerald. But I'd just like to say thank you very much, for everything, Devin, and everyone who's joined today. It's a great session.
Yep, no worries. Had a good fun as well. You're right. Have any last day?
No, that's it for me as well. I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for hosting us.
Yeah, and to Hassan's comment, right? He says there's no love from oil and gas. Coming soon, we are going on first dates. We're going on first dates. Not really married yet.
Yeah. So okay, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring you guys down. Just stay there. While I will end the broadcast after the comment. All right. Catch you guys in a while. All right. I think we come to the end already. I think we had a good session with a lot of laugh and everything. I think it's good to have a laugh. After usually we feel like we're talking to the wall, and it's like talking to one person to the wall and no response. So it's good to have a chat as well. I think this is probably a good format where you can take a look at. I mean, we can use it in future as well. So thank you so much to Tommy and Gerald for joining us, and sharing your on Kafka, Confluent, and everything. So if any questions, you guys can reach out to them. And for our side, we're gonna end. So thank you so much for joining tonight. Stay safe. And hopefully everything goes well. If you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated. Take care of your mental health, and take care of yourself as well. Don't be call someone if you need in a while. So just don't be alone and everything. And all good. And I hopefully can see you next month with a different speaker with a different and a different topic, exciting topic for you guys. And hopefully we can chat soon. Meanwhile, we are still looking for speakers. And if any companies want to sponsor as well, and if you have a job shouting that you want us to point it out, feel free to reach out me as well. If you have anything, questions, any feedback, you can reach out. So you can reach out me through the LinkedIn as well, Facebook as well can, through the to the Meetup page as well can, the message, and also the Slack as well. So I'm available everywhere, so pretty much you can find me. Should be fine. All right, thank you so much. Good night. Take care, and see you soon.